So Chennedy Carter is a player for nobody right now. Absolutely nobody. She is not playing basketball, and we've now got a situation where we've got one of the 15 best players in the world just not in the league.
If you're toxic to the team, it doesn't matter how talented you are. That's the message the Chicago Sky just sent to the entire WNBA. In a stunning overnight move, they replaced Chennedy Carter with Ariel Atkins after Carter's behavior toward Caitlin Clark backfired completely. Carter, once a key player, found herself jobless in an instant, learning about her replacement through social media. It wasn't her skill that cost her, it was her attitude. Once considered a top shooting guard, her competitive fire morphed into personal antagonism, particularly toward Clark. What seemed like isolated incidents turned into a troubling pattern, leaving the Sky with no choice but to make a tough business decision.
Too good. But I'm here to tell you, dog, we all should have seen this coming from Chennedy Carter. I don't want you to hear y'all. I don't want to hear nobody saying people picking on her. She made her bed, now she got to lay in it.
By the time things escalated, it was already too late. The Sky had seen enough. No exit interview, no discussion. Just a swift decision to move on to Carter's infamous statement, "I don't have any regrets with anything," only highlighted her lack of self-awareness, proving she had no intention of changing. Behind the scenes, her behavior disrupted team chemistry and even impacted recruitment, as players steered clear of Chicago due to the drama. In the end, the Sky made their choice. Talent alone wasn't worth the chaos.
I don't know why people be so surprised. Oh my God, Chennedy Carter deserved a play. Why? Did y'all forget all of these events that transpired last year with her and Caitlin Clark? And then she refused to own up to what she did. What organization want to do?
The Sky weren't just replacing a player. They were rebuilding their culture. When searching for Carter's replacement, they wanted the complete opposite. Someone who could bring stability and leadership. Ariel Atkins was the perfect choice. While Carter made headlines for controversy, Atkins built a reputation as one of the WNBA's most respected professionals. Where Carter's actions overshadowed her talent, Atkins embodies discipline, teamwork, and consistency. With this move, the Sky are making a clear statement. Culture matters just as much as skill.
The Chicago Sky finally replaced Chennedy Carter with Ariel Atkins, and I am using this as my opportunity to extend an olive branch to the Chennedy Carter Brigade. The Ken folk, I believe you guys call yourself. I am taking this as an opportunity to reach out my hand. And
what makes Atkins such a perfect replacement? Her basketball IQ is off the charts, and her approach to the game transforms teams. She brings the kind of defensive intensity coaches dream about, paired with leadership that elevates the entire locker room. Atkins understands that success in basketball isn't about personal agendas. It's about making everyone around you better.
Well, I think this is a great move for the Chicago Sky, in my personal opinion, because look at it. Now you got Courtney Vandershoot, you got Angel Reese, you have Kia Nurse, you have Camila Cardoso, you adding Ariel Atkins, and you got Rebecca Allen over there, and I think they're going to be really good this year. Now for DC, they're going to try to rebuild this thing and try to get back into the winning situation.
You can already feel the difference. The energy has shifted. Atkins sets the tone with her work ethic and positive attitude. She's like a surgeon, cutting out the toxicity that was poisoning team chemistry. Her presence alone has completely changed the atmosphere within the organization. The contrast couldn't be more obvious.
Genuinely seems like it's a awful situation for her, and it's like, as much as Chennedy Carter, yeah, she fought a teammate, plenty of WNBA.
This move sends a clear message to every player in the league who thinks targeting stars like Caitlin Clark is a path to relevance. Teams are watching, they're taking notes, and if you put personal vendettas above team success, they'll show you the door. The Sky are making their values crystal clear, and the fans, they're celebrating. Supporters see Atkins as the professional presence the team desperately needed. Meanwhile, Carter's defenders argue she wasn't given a fair chance. But in the end, the organization made its choice, and it speaks volumes.
Being on the bench. people were cheering for her teammates. She seemed very disengaged and just kind of like not caring. So Courtney Williams goes up to her and says, hey, come on, cheer for your teammates, be a part of this team. And then ensues an altercation between the two where Chennedy Carter was sent to the locker room mid-game, of which afterwards, after the game, this is what has been reported. I guess Chennedy Carter wanted to fight Courtney Williams, like physically fight Courtney Williams, who backed away from this and was like,
Chicago Sky are betting that addition by subtraction will improve team chemistry, even if Atkins doesn't match Carter's raw scoring ability. Sometimes, healing only starts when you remove what's causing the pain, like pulling out a splinter. But let's be clear, teams avoiding Carter isn't just about the Caitlin Clark incident. It's the result of a troubling pattern that few are talking about. Think about it. What kind of professional tries to physically fight their own teammate during a game? That's exactly what happened between Carter and Courtney Williams when they played for the Atlanta Dream. And that was just the first domino in what could be the most self-destructive career path in WNBA history. Carter's issues didn't start with Clark. They go all the way back to her early days in Atlanta. Let's break it down.
so there was no actual physical altercation that happened, but because of that, the Atlanta Dream did suspend her in the middle of the sophomore season, basically saying she was a detriment.
Courtney Williams is one of the most positive, well-liked players in the league. So, who picks a fight with her? Sources say Carter didn't just trash talk or get in her face. She literally wanted to throw hands with her own teammate during a game. That kind of behavior doesn't just blow over.
She ended up playing a lot less minutes there, and the reasoning that these Sparks were saying that she was playing less minutes was because of poor conduct, and that was the 2022 season. Then in the 2023 season, the Sparks just decided to release.
The Dream didn't just give Carter a slap on the wrist. They suspended her mid-season, citing detrimental behavior to the team, which is basically code for you're destroying our locker room. And here's where it gets even wilder. Instead of trying to fix the situation, Atlanta cut their losses and traded her to the Los Angeles Sparks. No second chances, no rebuilding bridges, just a clear message. This problem is now someone else's headache.
None of the teams were willing to pick her up after that, so she ends up going over to Turkey, playing in Turkey, of which she...
So how did Carter respond to her fresh start with the Sparks? Did she learn her lesson? Absolutely not. History repeated itself almost immediately. Despite her undeniable talent, Carter's minutes kept dropping game after game. And the team wasn't shy about the reason. They directly cited poor conduct. Think about that. A WNBA team openly admitting they were benching one of their most gifted players because of behavior problems. Eventually, the Sparks had enough. They didn't trade her, they didn't try to fix things, they just flat out released her. That made it two WNBA teams that essentially said, we don't care how talented you are, you're not worth the drama. And in a league with only 12 teams, burning bridges with two of them should have been a massive wake-up call. But Carter, she seemingly learned nothing.
This was originally ruled an away from the ball foul, but it was obviously a flagrant foul. It really upset a lot of people, which really escalated the issue. And it was really just poor sportsmanship on Kennedy's part, to be completely honest. And she really didn't deal with the backlash very well either, really firing on all cylinders on...
What makes this whole situation even crazier? After leaving the Sparks, Carter went overseas to play in Turkey and absolutely dominated, averaging nearly 50 points per game. That's not just impressive, that's otherworldly. With numbers like that, teams should have been lining up to sign her, but they weren't. Her reputation had become so toxic that even an insane overseas performance couldn't erase it.
Conversations about the franchise's future, and there has not been a peep about anywhere that she could be landing in this free agency.
When the Chicago Sky finally took a chance on Carter, it marked her fourth team in just a few years. In a league as small as the WNBA, bouncing around that much is almost unheard of, especially for a player with Carter's scoring ability. It was like waving a giant red flag that screamed, warning, locker room disaster ahead. S.O. when people act shocked that the Sky cut Carter after the Caitlin Clark incident, they're missing the bigger picture. This wasn't just about one push. It was the final straw in a long pattern of self-destruction. Carter hasn't just lost one team or burned one bridge. she has systematically alienated 4 different WNBA organizations. And all of them came to the same conclusion. Her on-court talent wasn't worth the off-court headaches.
I mean, look, maybe she's part of the culture problem. But that's very interesting.
What was once a promising WNBA career is now fading fast. The brutal reality is setting in. Carter's spotlight is dimming, and no team is showing interest. Her talent, which once had everyone buzzing, is now completely overshadowed by her reputation. Think about it. How far have things fallen when a scorer of her caliber can't find a single opportunity?
This is Coach. Chennedy had an incredible season for us last year, Pagliacca said in a statement provided to the Sun-Times. She's extremely talented and is a player that can impact the game at the highest level in our league. We absolutely appreciate all she did for our team last year. However, we've made changes to our staff and we'll make changes to our roster. Those changes impact Kennedy's fit on the team, so we wanted to give her the best opportunity as a free agent.
At this point, the overseas route seems like Carter's only option, as WNBA doors continue to slam shut. It raises a crucial question. What does it take to stay indispensable in today's team-first culture? Carter's story is now a cautionary tale for every player in the league. The lesson? Talent might get you in, but character determines your staying power. While stars like Caitlin Clark continue to rise, Carter's habit of burning bridges runs even deeper than most realized. And here's the real twist. This time, it wasn't just coaches making the call. It was her own teammates holding the matches. Think about it. How toxic does a locker room have to get before players are literally telling management, it's either her or us, before the season even starts? The situation in Chicago wasn't just uncomfortable. Players were actively avoiding being in the same room as Carter.
Have you ever seen a player this talented? A player this talented be out of a league? Genuinely, I don't think we have. Off the top of my head, I can't remember a player who was top 10 be out of the league without doing something crazy. Like, for example, like Michael Ray Richardson, who broke the 3-strike rule for doing drugs back in the day.
Now, the truth about what happened inside that Sky locker room is finally coming to light, and it's worse than anyone imagined. Sources close to the team reveal that the atmosphere had become so unbearably tense due to Carter's presence that insiders described it as an environment so toxic you could cut it with a knife. This wasn't just coaches getting frustrated with difficult behavior. This was Carter's own teammates actively pushing for her removal. They weren't just complaining, they were campaigning to get her out.
A lot of people was predicting that she's going to go to the Aces. I told y'all early on, I don't think no WNBA team is going to sign her. For Chicago to get rid of her and not get nothing speak volumes. That's how bad they wanted her gone. That sets the tone in her free agency to let them know we don't care about her. We're just going to release her. We don't want nothing for her. She got to go.
Imagine walking into your workplace every day and feeling that level of tension. That's exactly what Sky players were dealing with. The situation got so bad that teammates would physically avoid Carter, whispering in corners whenever she entered the room. One insider even described the locker room environment as a virus, infecting what was once a tight-knit team. That's how toxic things had become behind closed doors.
And Tyler Marsh did the press conference. He talked about Angel Reese. He talked about Cardoso, who I think is going to be a star in the WNBA. But he did not really mention Chennedy Carter at all. And that raised a lot of eyebrows. Now, Marina Mayberry, she's already flown the coop on this team. And it was quote unquote because of culture.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Remember Angel Reese? The player many saw as Carter's closest ally on the court. Well, in perhaps the most public sign of just how fractured these relationships had become, Reese completely unfollowed Carter on social media. You might think that's just petty drama, but in today's WNBA, that's the equivalent of standing on a mountaintop with a megaphone and declaring, "Our relationship is over."
Urgency. So a lot of people, including myself, are wondering, is she worth the risk now? There is speculation that the Aces might take her, but the Aces do not have a lot of cap room, and Chennedy is kind of standing hard on her value, and she is saying she won't come off the bench. She does not want to come back on a veteran minimum salary, but I just don't know how much wiggle room she has with her off-court behavior.
And here's the wildest part. This wasn't a social media fallout that happened after the season ended or following the Clark incident. It happened mid-season, while they were still playing together. Have you ever seen that before? A star player publicly cutting ties with a teammate in real time? That's how unbearable things had become. The fractures ran so deep that multiple Sky players weren't just complaining. They reportedly gave management an ultimatum. Either Carter goes, or we do. They made it crystal clear. They wouldn't return next season if she remained on the roster. That left the Sky front office with an impossible decision. Keep one problematic player or risk losing multiple key contributors.
Look at this little chart right here. The Fever will have over 600,000 fans in attendance total this year, and the second best to that was in 1999 with the Washington Mystics at just over 400,000. So the Fever are going to account for over 200,000 more fans this year to their games than any other team. Not only this year in 2024, you can see the Liberty are third on this list, and the Liberty are third, fourth, and fifth on this list, but those are the only two teams that are in 2024. The other highest attendance records are from 1999, 1998, and 2001. That is crazy.
The writing was on the wall long before the Caitlin Clark incident. During a press conference, Sky Chairman Tyler Marsh spoke at length about the team's future, highlighting Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso as cornerstones. But there was one glaring omission. He didn't mention Carter. Not even once did I end professional sports. When management stops including you in future plans, that's the equivalent of changing the locks on your locker. The Clark push wasn't the beginning of Carter's problems in Chicago. It was just the final, very public straw. By that point, her teammates had already moved on mentally. The locker room wasn't just divided, it was fractured, with Carter on one side and virtually everyone else on the other.
The top-selling WNBA player merch, Caitlin Clark, #1 in jersey sales, Angel Reese 2, Sabrina 3.
Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark isn't just excelling on the court. She's changing the game itself. She's drawing in fans who never watched women's basketball before, turning casual observers into die-hard followers. And the numbers prove it. This season, over 600,000 spectators are expected to attend Indiana Fever games, shattering WNBA attendance records. The last time attendance even came close to this? 1999, with just over 400,000, that arenas are selling out faster than ever. And those old jokes about WNBA jersey sales? Clark just ended them.
And wherever she goes, ratings follow. The WNBA draft, the doubleheader to open the NBA season. Ratings. I'm going to remind y'all that in the 28-year history of the WNBA, only 9 players in the league's history have eclipsed on-court earnings of $1 million.
Merchandise sales have skyrocketed, up more than 500% from last season. And Clark's jersey? It's flying off the shelves faster than free tacos at a basketball game. Thanks to her, WNBA player merch sales have surged by 1,000%. No, that's not a typo. Numbers like these don't just reflect hype. They prove how much Clark is redefining the league. Right now, she's the top-selling WNBA player, and it's not even close.
So yes, the WNBA was growing before Caitlin Clark. Make that abundantly clear. But it was growing incrementally compared to the exponential growth you're seeing now. And this is just data, this is just objective facts. Be mad with data, please do not be mad at me.
Clark's impact isn't just felt on the court. It's reshaping the entire conversation around women's basketball. Right now, the top 3 best-selling WNBA jerseys belong to Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Sabrina Ionescu, but Clark isn't just selling jerseys. She's changing the visibility of the league itself. Sports talk shows that once ignored the WNBA are now dedicating full segments to her performances. And after every game, social media erupts with her highlights.
So she was signed to the Chicago Sky with Teresa Weatherspoon, with Angel Reese, with Camila Cardoso, and, the rest of the folks. And then
Clark isn't just making history. She's forcing the sports world to pay attention. The WNBA has been growing for years, but Clark is accelerating that momentum at an unprecedented pace. Sports talk shows that once pushed women's basketball to the sidelines are now giving it prime coverage. And every time she steps on the court, her highlights dominate social media.